can't erase us, Nancy. Well, then you shouldn't try to erase women. I have to say, for any man that wants to be in a woman's restroom, bathroom, dressing room, locker room, absolutely not. This says you can't erase us, Nancy. Well, then you shouldn't try to erase women. I have to say, for any man that wants to be in a woman's restroom, bathroom, dressing room, locker room, absolutely not.
For more stories.
Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Conservative Poet with me, Amania. Happy to be here today. So this is Wednesday morning. We are live streaming yet again. This is our third live stream of the week. And I am actually really proud that I'm actually able to have even done this this week like this. So kudos to me for doing this. So this is practice for what's coming. So think of you guys as my little experiments as I practice this on the fly type of content. So that's actually what live streaming is. It's really, yes, there's a lot of preparation before pressing go on the camera. There's a lot to do before the show actually starts. So this is, again, prep for me for things to come. So thank you for joining me in this preparation. So I see we have one person there. Hello and good morning to you. I'm going to put the comment sections up. That way we can chat if you would like. So welcome to you. So from our thumbnail, again, we're going live here. And we have also the topics of conversation today is we're looking at Nancy Mace and the bill that she has presented to keep men out of women's spaces, women's bathroom, locker rooms, shower heads, and, all of that. Like where we women, we need our own spaces. We've had our own spaces for a long, long time. But now with the talk of the transgenders, therefore, we need to capitulate and accept men and women's bathrooms. Why should we do that? You're a man, that's fine. You want to be a transgender, that's fine. You want to dress up like a woman, that's fine. You want to wear women's clothes, that's fine. You want to wear wigs and makeups, that's fine. You want to grow your hair, that's fine. You want to wear nail polish and rings and lipstick, and that's fine. You want to be like me, that's fine. But there's a very different things between the two of us. The actual thing is I am reality, I am woman. And you are an illusion of a woman. So therefore, you're not an actual woman. You have parts that's not like mine. You were not born the way I was. You don't have the same things that I do. Just because you put on hair, makeup, wigs, all of that, dresses, heels, does not make you female. Right? And that is essentially it. Women has their bathrooms, men have their bathrooms. Men has their sports, women has their sports. And that's essentially it. So Representative Nancy Mace is saying in the Capitol Hill that men should have their own space, women should have their own space. You were born a man, therefore you use men's space. I'm born a woman, therefore I'm going to use woman's space. There is no in between for all of that. So before we get into the conversation, I want to play a quick parody from a couple of years ago. It's been a while, but let's have a little fun with this here parody. singing. It's
One day I'll fly away, leave all this dim life, from dream to dream, and dread the day when dreaming
you can't always get what you want.
ends.
Gotta play that again without all of the dramatics. Let's play it again.
One day I'll fly away, leave all this dim life, from dream to dream, and dread the day when dreaming ends.
I just love that because what it essentially is saying is that Barack Hussein Obama, Barry Soborne, what is his name? Barry Soborne. So Barry fixed it for Hillary Clinton, set it up beautifully, put everything in place, and Christmas morning, oh, Hillary, we've got such a great surprise for you. We've set it up. You're going to be president. And then she wasn't. And that is what that parody is saying. Christmas morning, Hillary woke up, and the prize that was we, the Americas, was taken away from her by Donald J. Trump. So, beautiful parody there. And I get a kick out of watching these things. So, we're going to get into the Nancy Mace. Oh, hello. Good morning, George. Hi. Welcome. I just played my parody and you probably missed it. So, I'm going to play it again so you can see it and so I can see it again because it was just way too much fun to watch. And I've explained it. This is Hillary Clinton, who was expecting the world, America, to be her Christmas present, but Donald J. Trump kind of came in and took it away. Here it is.
One day I'll fly away, leave all this dim life, from dream to dream, and dread the day when dreaming ends.
You can't always get what you want. I love it. I love it. I love it. So thanks for letting me have another kick at that because that was epic. All right, so we're talking Nancy Mace today and how she is going to save women and women's spaces. And I've got a couple of clippings that we're going to go into. We're first going to take one that it kind of lays out this in reference to what Macy is doing. And then we're going to look at an interview that she did with Laura Ingraham on the subject. And then we're going to take an interview with currently there is a lawmaker. I forget where she's at. Well, right there, I've already made the mistake of calling it a she. A man. So currently there is a man masquerading as woman who is in the legislature. I forget which, but we'll find that out. But in any event, this man is interviewed in reference to his thoughts and opinions and as into this issue that Macy Grace is proposing to the Congress. And so, which I find interesting is that in the state where this man is, somebody in that legislature should have brought this to the floor and says, look, we can't have men and women's spaces. And you'll see he explains that nobody had a problem with him being in the women's bathroom until it became a political thing. So they would just ignore him being in there. And that is the problem is that we are seeing these men in spaces and we are allowing them to be in our spaces and not say anything. Macy is getting ahead of this thing, coming to her house, literally the house in Congress. She's saying we're going to put systems in place so we can have, we're going to put the rules out there again that men are men and women are women, and men use men's bathroom, women use women's bathroom. And so this thing should have been happening where this transgender person is in office. I was shocked to hear that. Anyway, we're gonna take it and see all about Macy Mace and her legislation or her bill.
Interested in a fight about bathrooms, and that this and the issue of transgender rights was front and center during the 2024 campaign. Now that debate is carrying over into the new Congress. Sarah McBride of Delaware made history as the first openly transgender woman to win a seat in Congress. But her victory has led Republicans on the Hill, including South Carolina's Nancy Mace, to raise questions about what bathrooms McBride would use on the Capitol campus. Now, Mace says that she's uncomfortable with the idea of McBride using a woman's bathroom. That opened the door to House Speaker Mike Johnson to issue a new policy that states that restrooms, changing rooms, and locker rooms are reserved for individuals of that biological sex. Now, it's important to note that each member office has its own private restroom, and unisex restrooms are available throughout the Capitol. Women deserve women-only spaces. That from Speaker Johnson. Now, Mace wants more than just an edict issued by the Speaker. She wants it passed as part of the House rules package. Savannah.
So how is McBride responding to the new rule?
Well, she's made it very clear, Savannah, that she does not want gender to be the focus of her time in Congress, writing in a statement that she's not interested in a fight about bathrooms and that this effort is a way to distract from the real issues that are facing this country. She added that she plans to follow the rules outlined by the Speaker, even if she disagrees with them. Savannah?
All right, Ryan, thank you.
What bugs me about that whole take is that the reporter, when he went to talk about his male counterpart, calls her, she, her, all this. And they emphasize it. And that really, really bugs me is the way that they emphasize. Oh, she. No, it's not a she. It's a he. And, I don't care how people want to live their life. You want to live your life the way live your life. But do not impose it on we, the society. We can coexist, but why should the public capitulate to, just capitulate and be, welcoming to this kind of thing? This person has a mental disorder. And I'm kind of curious as to what committees this person is going to be going on. Because this person does not have a clear, sound thinking mind. They have a mental disorder. And that needs to be addressed. I don't understand how they can put these people in these kinds of positions when they need to be talking to shrinks and psychiatrists about their mental thing, because it's insanity for you to think that you are a woman when you are a man. We have lost that right there. That's where we need to figure out what's the problem, what makes you think that, and start to fix these things and say, look, we need to work on you and your mental state, because you're not a man and you can't pretend to be one. And then expect the society to believe that you're one. And then expect the society to open up spaces where you're not allowed to put you in. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. So we're going to take the interview with Laura Ingraham, where Representative Macy talks about what she's been going through, what she's been dealing with. In reference to this, she's been getting death threats. Obviously, these people are not nice people. I mean, when we tell them, look, You can do whatever you want behind your closed doors. You want to dress up like this and be out, and hey, you do you. But don't enforce us to partake in it. And as of right now, they are really enforcing the Congress to partake in this charade. This person is a mental person. But we have to partake in this made up fantasy that this person has going on. It's insanity. Anyway, here is Macy and Laura Ingraham discussing her bill and how this thing is going to go and everything that she's been dealing with in reference to this.
That corresponds with his or her biological. Moronic woke terms that the left-wing loons have force-fed us for years, especially our kids in schools and colleges, they're not popular. People don't want to use them. But confirming that House Democrats have learned nothing after getting shellacked in November 5th election, they're going full steam ahead for biological men to use women's restrooms. But Congresswoman Nancy Mace is trying to put a stop to it. She introduced a new resolution requiring members and staffers to use the bathroom that corresponds with his or her biological sex. I can't believe this even has to be a thing. But the move comes as the first trans member of Congress, Sarah McBride, is set to take office.
Bullying a member of Congress. This is what we're doing. This is the lesson that you've drawn from the election in November. This is your priority, that you want to bully a member of Congress as opposed to welcoming her to join this body.
Before she go on, this guy really annoys me. He literally irks my nerves, because if you pay attention to the way he converse and the way he's trying to pull out that Obama friend, you do not have the charisma of the Obama. Okay, you do not have that, and it really bugs me. What really bugs me is that this guy he's like the number one in the Democrat Party right now, right? So at least in the House, he's the number one. And so because you're number one in this space and you're a man, shouldn't you be looking to protect women in the body? You should be looking to protect women, not other men. This is why we, the women, have no respect for people like you, simpletons like you. We're going to talk more about Simps later on, but this is a classic simpleton right here. Okay, this guy, Hakeem Jeffries, you should really be looking to protect women, not other men. That guy should be going to use your bathroom, and maybe you can help him out with his whatever business while y'all are in there, because it's obvious that you may play on that team. I'm just saying.
Of course, as always, legacy media helps Democrats frame the issue as the nice people versus the mean people.
Speaker Johnson has said he wants to treat every new member with the words dignity and respect. Forcing this congressperson to go into a male restroom, is that dignity and respect?
Forcing women to share private spaces with men is not dignity and not respect.
And joining me now, South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Congresswoman, great to see you. So as far as dignity and respect go, I'm wondering, Congresswoman, how have you been treated after introducing this resolution?
A very interesting question. So the height of hypocrisy, the height of gaslighting, they're threatening to kill me now because I, as a woman, am standing up to protect other women from men being in our private spaces, our restrooms, bathrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, you name it. And so now they're threatening to kill me over this. I'm being bullied online. But what they forget is that, Laura, I'm the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. I will not be bullied into silence. I will not back down. And in fact, I'm going to double down on this. And I'm going to file even more legislation to protect women beyond the Capitol, across every state in the nation. Because the simple question is, do women have rights or not? It's a very simple question.
Now,
before she goes on, that is absolutely the point. Our rights as women has literally been violated, you know? So men are men and women are women. And so having them in these private, intimate spaces, it's really, really uncomfortable. And I have said it many times. I've said it on here on YouTube. I've said it on the radio show when I'm on there. And I've said it in front of delegates that if I am ever in a space in the bathroom and I literally know that the person next to me is a man, I am not going to go by quietly. I will scream bloody hell, bloody murder, because my space is being invaded. I should not feel uncomfortable in any kind of way with a man in there. So the rights of women, my rights, being violated when there's a man in my bathroom. My rights are being violated when when we're in the bathroom and we're doing, we're checking our makeup and we're doing this and we're peeing and we're doing, and there's an actual dude in there. I'm like, oh, I feel, because we don't have the same things in common. And so, yes, the women's space needs to be protected, and women needs to be protected. Our rights needs to be protected.
Rep-elect Sarah McBride responded to your resolution saying this is a blatant attempt from far right-wing extremists to distract from the fact they have no real solutions to what Americans are facing. We should be focused on bringing down the cost of housing, health care, child care, not manufacturing culture wars. Your response?
This is not manufactured. This is a person who's threatened to come into women's private spaces. And I'm a survivor of rape, sexual violence, and abuse. And I know how deeply vulnerable women are in places where we feel we have a right to privacy. And this is not okay. If you're a biological man, if you're born a man, you use the men's restroom. You don't invade our privacy. You don't come into women's private spaces. This is not a thing. I will die on this hill. It will not happen on my watch. This is a fight worth fighting for. And I'm going to fight to protect every woman in Congress, every staffer, every employee, every woman and girl across the country. They didn't learn anything from November 2 weeks ago. And women's issues were on the ballot, and conservatives are now feminists. It's wild. It's insane that this is even up for debate. It's not up for debate. And
well,
Sarah
one thing, yeah, I'm sorry, but one thing I know the left will say in response to what you just said is, well, it's horrific that you were subjected to any abuse or assault, any of it. But are you intimating that this new congressman-elect would somehow assault you in the bathroom? That would be the argument.
The idea of a man walking into a locker room where I'm changing is actually, it feels like assault. I am a victim. I have PTSD from the trauma that I have endured at the hands of a man. And I'm going to stand in the way solidly of any guy that wants to come into our spaces. And guess what? Sarah McBride doesn't get a say in this. And I'm not gonna succumb or be silenced by bullies online or by the radical left. They lost big. And I'm going to push back harder than ever before.
Congresswoman, thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
So let me do this. So I'm wondering, does she have any other congresswomen on the Hill who is going to die on this hill with her? Because at this point, the women need to start banding together and rallying together. Like, she should not be the only one out here having conversations, putting this bill together. Like, she should have an army of them. They should be having press conferences with all of the women, like create their own, dare I say it, what's the other side do? The what do they call themselves? The squad. So yeah, we should have a band of women squad, like all of the right women, all of the Republican women, and the men, like everybody standing strong and saying, yeah, we're not going to let this happen. So Macy, good for her. And I'm really hoping to see other congresswomen attach themselves to this to make a collaborative, stance, because this is a women's issue across the board, and it does start in Washington D.C. because this is where the laws are made, the rules are made. So I'm glad this fight has come to D.C. so that they can start to implement what's going to happen to the rest of the world, or the country. So women's spaces in all of the states. It starts in DC. It starts with legislation. And I'm glad to see this, but I really want to see other women. Like, I mean, I don't know where Marjorie Taylor Greene is. Like, they should be banding together. And Lauren Boebert, she should be up there. Anna Paulina Luna, you know, all of these strong conservative women to be right there with her and saying, yep, we are feminists and we are going to stand together. We're going to fight for women. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. So next up, we're going to talk a little bit about this transgender male. Let's remove that. This transgender male who is in office already at the state level, and he's being interviewed here in reference to what Congresswoman Mace is doing, and his stance on all of this. So we're going to go into the other side to see what it is that they've got to say. Again, mind you, this is a man. And once you look at him, you know he's a man. And all of this because, again, this is how they are erasing women and putting themselves in those spaces instead. And then they want to be in our bathrooms where we are so vulnerable, and it is so disgusting. Yes, George, it is disgusting. It's disgusting. All right.
Zephyr, thank you so much for joining us here on Scripps News.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start here just with your pure reaction to what happened this week in the House and Congresswoman Nancy Mace's latest effort to try and bar women like you from using restrooms.
Right off the bat, I'm already triggered because this guy is saying women like you. They're not women. They're men. Or say people like you. I would be better with people like you. Yes, George, he's a man playing dress up. Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I think we see, you know, in the clip you played, Nancy Mace talked about additional legislation coming. And I think it's important to acknowledge that while these attacks on transgender people are always brought one bill at a time, they do not focus on specific issues. The hate of trans people is boundless. And we saw that when Nancy Mace went on far-right media earlier this week and claimed that it was a, quote, offensive that Congresswoman McBride views herself as an equal to Nancy Mace.
Yeah, it is a disgrace because he is not a woman. He is a man like you, masquerading, playing dress up. Thank you, George, again. Playing dress up and pretending to be something you're not. So he is not that. He is not her equal because he is a he and she is a she.
So while we see policies targeting trans women just trying to live their lives in the restroom, trying to play sports with her friends, that is not where the hate stops from the right. They're going into Target, tearing down pride displays. That hate is on display.
I may have to just let this guy go on. I'm going to have to restrain myself from stopping it every 2 seconds to just address him. Oh, we just want to play sports with our friends. We just want to play. You're keeping us from our lives of playing sports with our friends. No, friend, you are dominating women in women's spaces in sports. You're not just playing sports with your friends. You're winning medals, taking away opportunities from women because you, a man, couldn't cut it competing against other men. So you decided to go and compete against women. And that's what we're talking about. Oh, they're hateful and mean because they won't let us play sports. We just want to play. What a disgrace. God.
Play at every moment, which is why it's important for us to resist these efforts to target our community.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. Congresswoman-elect McBride announced pretty much immediately that when she takes her oath of office in January, she will comply with Speaker Johnson's rules and the rules that Congresswoman Mace are trying to put in place. Is that the right move?
You know, I think there's two things you look at there. And the first is Sarah McBride, Congresswoman-elect McBride, was elected to serve the people of Delaware. She has very important issues she wants to be focused on, and she recognizes rightly that the folks on the right trying to target transgender people are doing so to drum up fear and create sort of a rage politics. So there's an effort there to focus on her constituents, and that's right. I want to point out on the other hand, though, what happens in these moments is, you know, there's a reason Sarah is going to comply, and it's that bathrooms are dangerous for trans people. When you have someone claiming that we're violent when we are just trying to live our lives, just trying to use the restroom, when you drill down about in the right on how would these bills be enforced, it always comes to questioning whether a person is woman enough. And I think Sarah is trying to say that's not a fight I am going to deal with right now. That said, the attacks we see on trans people will escalate. This will not be the last attack on Congresswoman-elect McBride. And in my perspective, it is important that we make sure, as trans people in this country, that we do not cede ground to someone who wants to erase us, regardless of whether they want to erase us in the Capitol, whether they want to erase us as we go through our daily lives in public. We have to stand strong.
Hold on, friend. He said so much there. I wish I was taking notes so I could just, because I wanted to stop, but I wanted to let it play. This person is now making, we are the victim. It's not women that's the victim. It's not we women whose spaces are being evaded. It's not we women whose spaces are being taken over by men. It's not we, the women who are victims, but it's you, the mental person who needs help. You are the victim. And this is what he is laying out. And then he's saying, well, this man, Sarah, that's his name, McBride, is now going to take the high road because he is going to focus on what the American people need and what the American people voted for. And so I just have to say right now, the people, this guy is in Delaware. Yeah, somebody's in Delaware. Well, wherever they are, whoever voted for this, these people are mentally insane. These people voted for a mentally insane person to go and represent them. That tells you that maybe that demographic, that area, has a lot of mental problems to be worked with. Because if you're going to vote in men who believes that they are women when they have a mental illness, what kind of work are they going to go and do for the public? They're going to go out there and advocate for these cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs agendas. That's what they're going for.
So should McBride take a tougher stance on this? Should she then challenge Speaker Johnson?
You know, I think every trans person has to weigh a level of personal safety. You know, what does it mean to use a restroom when someone is going to get potentially violent towards you when you're just trying to live your life? How does that impact her ability to do her work as she moves through the Capitol? I'm not going to tell Congresswoman-elect McBride what to do, just like I would not tell any trans person in this country what to do. But what I want people to realize is the attacks on trans individuals do not stop in the restrooms. They do not stop on the sports field. They do not stop in the workplace. They're coming after all aspects of trans people's ability to exist in public life. And I think it is important for us, not individually, but as a collective, to make sure that we do not cede ground out of fear of retribution. We must plant the flag and say, this is who we are.
Plant the flag, and say this is who you are. So how do I address this now? This person is literally, I don't even know. I just don't know that they are fearful of being attacked. So you go into the men's room. Well, you're a man. They're going to look at you. Well, why is this weirdo in the bathroom? Yeah, you might get attacked in there, but that's who you are. This is what you're putting out there in the society. You're telling the society, I'm a mental case, I'm a freako, and so therefore I'm out here. I have mental illness, but please don't address it. And so you walk into a men's room and he's like, wait a minute, you're a dude with a dress, you're pulling out your penis. Why are you dressed this way? We got a problem. And they're going to beat you down. Probably. And then you go into a woman's space and we're like, oh my God, there's a dude in here. And they're afraid. Maybe we should beat you down. But again, you're a man. You have that physical differences from us. So we could try to beat you up, but you're a man. And at the end of the day, you're going to beat us up. And that is part of it. So maybe they should just make bathrooms for just you people. This way, men goes into men's bathroom, women goes into women's bathroom, and then the people like you can go into their own bathroom. Again, it's another taxpayer, bill to do this, but maybe that would be the solution, because I don't know.
I'm glad that you mentioned personal safety. I mean, you're someone who has to face these issues head on in your personal life every single day. Would you feel comfortable or safe using a men's bathroom, as Speaker Johnson and Congresswoman Mace have suggested that Congresswoman-elect McBride should do?
Absolutely not. That is so far removed from a place I would feel personally safe. And, I think when we talk about outrage politics and sort of the attacks that someone like Congresswoman Mace is pushing on trans people, trying to paint us as dangerous in some light, that it lives in such a stark contrast to even my lived experience in the Capitol. I had the experience I did where Republicans went after trans care regularly. That said, after every floor session, I used the bathroom, I wound up talking, in the washroom with other Republican women, Democrats, Republicans, no one bats an eye. It was only when it was politically convenient to target trans people that they made us out to be dangerous in some way. And that level of disingenuousness, I think, is corrosive to our politics, and it's something we have to push against.
So
I want to touch on women's sports and the debate.
Hold on. So right there, I'll make myself big for this point. Right there is where the problem lied. So what he just laid out is where he works. The women there in the legislature had no problems with him sashaying into the women's bathroom during breaks or whatnot to use the women's bathroom. That's where the problem started. If they had enough courage, enough backbone, enough stamina to stand up and say, look, Houston, we got a problem. This is the dude, and he is not allowed in this bathroom. If it had started there, this wouldn't be happening in DC right now. Well, it probably would, because it's going to end up in DC as a national thing. But if it started in that state and laws were put into place and said, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to allow men this is the highest land in that state. This is where the laws happen, in that state. And the women there, the lawmakers there, the weak Republicans there did not stand up and say, look, this has come to our forefront. We're not going to allow this. We're going to put systems in place now. And they didn't. They let him walk into their bathrooms, and he used their bathrooms while they stood there, dummies, putting on their lipstick. Well, wait till he comes out. I won't go in now. I'll wait till he leaves. Because I need to be nice. I need to be nice because I don't want to be politically incorrect. I don't want to be called names. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be this kind of person. I want to be inclusive with everyone. So I'll just be quiet. And here we are, friend. Here we are. Here we are.
Over whether transgender women like yourself should be allowed to compete in women's sports. You were a wrestler, you competed, but explain us, why should transgender women be able to fight cis women? Should trans women be allowed in women's sports without exceptions, or should there be exceptions?
Yes, thank you. This is an issue dear to my heart. I was a 5-time state wrestling champion prior to my transition. I have played intramural sports post-transition. I love sports, and I know the lessons that sports teach people. I've also watched people on the right try to paint an image of what a trans person in sports looks like. Very violent, very imbalanced. That's how they want you to imagine this. I've also sat in rooms with 9-year-old trans girls who are begging their governor to let them play soccer with their friends, whose teammates love and accept them and care for them. And so for me, that's what I look at there. And I say, if you look at the reality on the ground, you have people who have transitioned, who are living our lives, who are women, trying to compete with other women. That's fair, that's balanced. And then also, you look at the attacks. You look at what happened in this Olympics, where the right wasn't concerned, wasn't attacking a trans woman in the Olympics. They were attacking a cisgender woman who did not meet their standards of what a woman should be. And that disingenuousness, again, to me highlights that the issue is never to them about sports. Also in the sports bans, we see them targeting chess, Irish dancing, things like that. You leave these decisions to sports bodies, to the IOC, to weigh how transition impacts athletes. You do not carte blanche insert government into these decisions.
Before the other guy jumps in, y'all, this conversation is making me nuts because, again, this man, when we look at the sports arena, was it about, 2 months ago? Riley Gaines was in my neck of the woods, and I was in the room when she came and talked about her experience as in sports with, dealing with the male swimmer who won trophies that should have gone to her. Those are the kinds of things that happens to women in sports, where biological men who are unable to perform at the level with other men, they go into these women's spaces and then they dominate and they take away from us. They take trophies. There's even them taking away beauty queen trophies. It's crazy, literally taking away from women. But this guy doesn't see it that way. Oh, we just want to compete with other women. No, that's not it. And if that's the case, then they should create a whole new arena where people like you compete against people like you. This way, women can continue to perform and compete against women where these things are matched. Men continue to compete against men where these things are matched. And then your status where men can, who people like you can compete against people like you. So if there's a man who wants to be a woman who wants to play sports, then you guys hatch it out. You guys play against each other. Right? And then there's women who wants to be butch and be like this and be pretend to be men. Then you guys hatch it out. And so you guys have your own arena where you can compete against each other. And that's it. Because you competing against women is not fair. You are biologically built different than we are. We cannot compete with you because you are stronger. You are male. Nut jobs. before we go on, Kathy, hello, Kathy. Kathy says these lunatics on the left are so revolting. Yes, girl, they are. I'm so happy that Nancy Mace is standing up for us, and I'm with you. Where is MTG, Bobart, Luna, etc.? You're right. I said that earlier. I need to be seeing them doing interviews together and doing just kind of pulling the tribe together and standing up. And that way they can say, look, these women are not playing. Mace is out here by herself. I'm hoping behind the scenes. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene is getting ready to deal with the Doge situation, and so for maybe she's got things on her plate, but for the rest of them, I don't know what they're getting ready to do, but they need to be coming together and banding together so we can take this lunacy down, so that this way they can start to implement this across the country like ASAP, so we can avoid lunatics like this making laws. Because do you know what kind of laws people like that is going to make? Laws that's going to really put it into play that we, the women, will really be eliminated from the scene, because that's what they're doing. And it's unfair. These people are mental. They need to be locked up in a mental institution. I'm sorry, but it's true. Thank you, Kathy, for that comment. It really was definitely on point. So yeah, we'll be looking out to see where the rest of the Republican women do, because we need to get it done. Not even that, the women in the Senate need to start preparing too, right? They need to put laws in. I don't know if those same laws will affect them, but yeah, they need to put laws in everywhere that we're not going to put up with this. And we need to band together as women and stand up. All right, let's finish up with this crackpot.
Boundless. And we saw that when Nancy Mace went on far-right media earlier this week and claimed that it was a, quote, offensive that Congresswoman McBride views herself as an equal to Nancy Mace. So while we see policies targeting trans women just trying to live their lives in the restroom.
Just realize it's here. It kind of
I want to touch on women's sports and the debate over whether transgender women like yourself.
And so for me, that's what I look at there. And I say, if you look at the reality on the ground, you have people who have transitioned, who are living our lives, who are women, trying to compete with other women. That's fair. That's balanced. And then also, you look at the attacks. You look at what happened in this Olympics, where the right wasn't concerned, wasn't attacking a trans woman in the Olympics. They were attacking a cisgender woman who did not meet their standards of what a woman should be. And that disingenuousness, again, to me, highlights that the issue is never to them about sports. Also in the sports bans, we see them targeting chess, Irish dancing, things like that. You leave these decisions to sports bodies, to the IOC, to weigh how transition impacts athletes. You do not carte blanche insert government into these decisions.
I just want to, in the last 30 seconds or so, want to shift to Montana. You were just reelected. Congratulations. Have you had any recent communications with the House Speaker, Matt Rieger, who barred you last term from sitting in the House chamber?
Former Speaker Rieger is now over in the Senate as the Senate president. My conversations with him have not really happened in the brief moments of orientation, though there is conversation about possibly running a bill that he sponsored in his first session that I would be reviving. I'm hoping, as Democrats picked up 10 seats in the Montana House, that we see less of the attacks that we saw last session and more policy that helps the people of Montana.
So what I was thinking just now as he was talking, I was kind of wondering, when he got elected, was he like this? Portraying himself to be female? Or did this happen while he was in office and then has been reelected? I'm kind of curious. Now I'll have to go and find out, because I'm curious to know if they were like this when they ran for office and got in, and obviously they just won re-election. And I don't know, I'm just kind of curious about that. Anyway, friends, that's where we are with that whole conversation. So Again, thank you to Representative Nancy Mace for putting this bill together to start to protect we the women, because we have to protect ourselves. We are in a landscape right now where if we don't stand up for ourselves, we're literally being erased. And I hate to think about the Hollywood women, the Hollywood women, who they are all on board with this. You know, they're all on board with this. They're the ones out here. You know, you don't see Queen Bee, Beyonce, and, you know, all these high profile celebrities coming out here to support women, right? They're supporting men and this craziness. You know, these celebrities, they're not out here advocating for women. No, they call you a bigot. They call you this, they call you that. Are they? I mean, what's happened to them? Where's the feminist? You know, the Me Too women standing up for women if they're in trouble with these Me Too situations. We've got to stand with women. Where are you? Even these sports athletes, you know, the Serena Williams, you know, all of these people. Where are you standing up for women in your leagues and your platforms? But again, it starts in legislature, and I'm glad Rep Mace is putting this together so that way we can get some laws into place, because obviously, even though they've lost this election, they are still Looney Tunes. They are still insane, and they're going to continue to put things into place to for us to capitulate to the minority and put laws into place to accommodate them as opposed to we the majority. So shout out again to Representative Nancy Mace for doing that, and we appreciate her. So I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to, quick break. Word from the conservative poet and the Orlando Patriot. Christmas great again. But first, we want to say thank you to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, there would be no season. So he is the reason for the season. And we want to say thank you for a great gift that he has poured upon us. And that gift, my friends, is our president, Donald J. Trump, who is going to make Christmas great again. We have Christmas wrapping paper. We have candles, puzzles for the children, t-shirts, mugs, blankets and fleeces, so many different things, ornaments. Yes, we are making Christmas great again. We say thank you to Donald J. Trump. Go to theorlandopatriot.com, get 30% off your purchase price. See you there. Merry Christmas. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Okay, friends, thank you, Orlando Patriots, for that 30% off. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit. We're going back to this Biden, Joe Biden pardon of his son. And so this thing is making a lot of waves. People are still talking. It's still big news. So a lot of people are putting their 2 cents into this. And so I decided to put a couple of highlights on, and we're going to start with our friend Charlamagne the Gag. That's what I call him, Charlamagne the Gag. Now, he had some things that he had to say. Now, one of my issues with Charlamagne is that, first of all, he's not very smart. He's been put in rooms. He's got a platform of like 5 million subscribers on his radio. You know, he listens. People listen to him, and he thinks he talks politics. But Charlamagne is diehard liberal, progressive, and he just feels like the party is not progressive enough. That's where he's angry with them. Not that, you know, he has a problem with all of these things. And even though he sees the writing on the wall, and sometimes I think that he knows the truth, But I don't know if he's just one of these paid actors out here who is just out here pushing these propagandas for the Democrats, but he is just literally always doing that, even though he comes out sometimes with some takes and you're like, really, Charlamagne? Are you leaving the plantation? Are you being red pilled? Are you really getting it? And then he comes out and he says something else. So in this clipping, he is pushing back on Joe Biden and his pardon of his son. And we're going to take it from Fox and Friends. I think it's Fox and Friends, who is going to cover this. And they're going to talk a little bit about Charlamagne and, you know, his stance on all of this. So let's take it in. This is Fox and Friends talking about Charlamagne the gag and his stance on Joe Biden pardoning Hunter Biden.
Made news, maybe for the first time outside his very successful show. I thought when he was interviewing Joe Biden and he said, you know, if you don't vote, he asked him a tough question. Biden didn't like it. And he said, well, you know what? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. He's like, and you saw him take a double. Excuse me? Yeah, Joe Biden when he was vice president. So since that time, he made it clear, too, that he wasn't going to vote for Joe Biden this time. And then Kamala Harris, who they've been friends with when she was a DA or Attorney General out in Florida, California. When she went in, he went all in. No doubt about it. He also expressed chagrin when he saw Joe Biden, who he knows called Donald Trump Hitler and a fascist that would ruin the country and end all elections, shaking hands and explaining pleasantries in the White House. And now his surprise continues to grow. He's wondering, how sincere were you when you said that? And now he's wondering, too, after the pardon, do I have to rethink entirely the entire party?
Right, because Joe Biden was emphatic. He was not going to pardon Hunter Biden, his son. We all knew he was going to. Charlamagne knew he would, but nonetheless, he had a great soundbite yesterday, Charlamagne did, and we're going to play it for you, about how essentially Joe Biden has blown up his own party. Democrats can't say you're the ethical party anymore after what Joe did to all of us. Watch.
Hunter was singled out because he broke the law. He was singled out because he had an illegal gun and tax evasion charges, not because he was the president's son. And I just want Democrats to stop acting like they are on this moral high ground politically when they have shown us they're not, you know, whether it's skipping the primary process when Biden stepped down and things like Biden pardoning his son. Stop acting like y'all the pure party and Republicans aren't. And it also shows me elected officials can do whatever they want as long as they have the political will and courage to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if he was convinced he was going to pardon him because Joe Biden kept saying, obviously, over and over again, he's not going to pardon him.
I think the bottom line is that they ran an entire election based on norms and that Donald Trump was going to destroy all type of norms. If you got him back in office, then democracy was at peril and that he was going to overturn the Department of Justice. And to run your campaign on saving democracy and protecting the Department of Justice and to now have the sitting president not only pardon his son from criminal activity that many people argue that he's linked to, but then to double down and say that the Department of Justice is a political arm as well, his Department of Justice. I mean, he's using Donald Trump's talking points after campaigning against Donald Trump's talking points. And I think that's what Charlamagne is pointing to. Now, don't get me wrong. Charlamagne is a progressive. He's going to be Team Democrat throughout the election, but once the election is over or before the election, then you'll see him criticize the party and tell them things they need to check themselves on.
Well, I think what we heard from Democrats the entire election, one of the reasons I think Donald Trump did so well is because they told us how much we should hate Donald Trump and
So that's the part I wanted to cover there with Charlamagne and he's absolutely right. So Charlamagne is upset that Joe Biden was sitting there with President Trump, you know, the day that President Trump went to the White House to sit with Biden, and Biden was so happy. He was so happy and cordial. And so Charlamagne is upset about that. He's saying, well, if he was a threat to democracy and he was going to be this bad thing, why are you sitting there having jokes with him? Why are you laughing with, you know, you should be upset. And so That's what's really bugging Charlamagne. That's what he's really upset about, is that Joe Biden was happy sitting there with Trump. So his point is, well, were you, did you really believe he was a threat to our democracy when you were running, when you were telling us this? Didn't you believe that? How can you sit there happy with a person who's a threat to democracy? And that's why Charlamagne Charlamagne the gag, that's why he is a simpleton. And so now we're going to move to another simpleton, and this is Stephen A. Smith. Now, Stephen A., I've covered him many times here. I love covering Stephen A. because he gets so passionate about his thing, and he will tell the truth, and then he will walk it back. He'll tell the truth, and then he'll walk it back. As soon as they come for him and say, Stephen A., you know you shouldn't be saying that, he will walk it back and apologize, because then they're saying, you're not welcome to the barbecue, Stephen A. You're not welcome to the cookout. You can't come. So he's going to walk it back and say, I apologize, or this is what I really meant. I misspoke, because he's afraid to really stand up. And so we're going to take a clipping of him with Chris Cuomo talking about his stance on this. And yeah, let's go. Stephen A.
You know, the Biden situation disgusted me in terms of the parting only from this standpoint, Chris. Nobody on the planet, you want to be a cynic and you want to act like you would be offended by something like that if you're one of those people out there, fine. But no one within reason would have a problem with him saying, it's my son. I love him. There's no way I'm sending him to jail. And I have the power to avoid it. Nobody would blame him for that. But that's not where he went. So I didn't have a problem to answer your question directly with the decision that he made to pardon his son. Boo Boo the Fool knew he was going to do that. I don't care who he stood in front of or sat in front of and said that he wasn't going to pardon his son and he was just going to go by the letter of the law. Please, everybody and their grandmother knew he was going to pardon his son. But to come out and to start talking about how it's been a witch hunt and the Department of Justice and others were after him or whoever it was, and GOP rather was after him. Well, wait a minute. What have y'all been doing with Donald Trump all of these years? Now, you can make an argument about the legitimacy of the cases against Donald Trump compared to what wasn't legitimate, et cetera. That's not the point. The point is it was clearly politicized. You had folks on the left who were hell-bent on going after Donald Trump because they were determined to make sure that he couldn't run for re-election or that these elements would get in the way of him possibly winning re-election. And now we know why more than ever, because they weren't confident they would ever be able to beat him. He'd been a Republican nominee since 2016. He beat Hillary Clinton with the Electoral College vote. He wouldn't concede defeat in 2020, but he did receive over 74 million votes at that particular moment in time. And then you fast forward 4 years later, despite the 34 felony convictions, the 2 impeachments, the bevy of crimes that he had been accused of, the Republican voters out there, the conservative voters out there, and a lot of independents from various communities said, he's the guy we want, and I've said it on many, many occasions. It wasn't about him. Just like it wasn't about Biden in 2020, it was more against Trump. In this particular instance, it was an indictment against the Biden administration, what had been going on for the last 4 years. Some of the things going on with the border, obviously inflation, of course, crime in the streets, of course, woke and cancel culture and all of that, it all played a role. And so for him to come out and to talk about that, this was a witch hunt, when clearly it could be argued that's exactly what you were doing to Donald Trump, or you assisted in doing, seems beyond hypocritical. And that was what disgusted me. It wasn't his decision. It wasn't him pardoning his son. It was the weak, pathetic explanation that he gave, which has most critics just shaking their heads and raising their eyebrows and saying, what nerve you have.
Now, I agree with you 100%. I went light on that point in my open because I knew you were going to make it. I agree with you 100%. And he didn't have to do it that way. He could have just said what you said, which is, hey, look, I don't want them. He's my son, and they're going to go after him. And if I can protect him, I'm going to protect him. You know what else Biden should do? And I know people are going to get upset about this, but just think about it before you go crazy on me. Not you, everybody else. If I were he, I would pardon Trump.
You know something? Honestly,
I would say
honestly,
this
as
has gotta
crazy as this
stop.
sounds, Chris,
I'd pardon.
Chris, that's exactly what I would do. That's exactly what I would do. Enough's enough. You know what? You're the Democrats. You lost the election. You got your butt whipped. You couldn't prevent him from going back to the White House. More than a dozen cases have been dropped against him. The cases that have been ruled against him, he's going to appeal, and he'll probably get off from having to deal with all of that. It's time to move forward. You want to get at Trump? Sit back and judge what he does. Guess what? You got a midterm election in 2 years. Are you going to be ready if you're the Democratic Party? You should be. You know, he's going to be the presidency for 4 years. You're going to be able to judge every single act that he does. March forward, move forward. You know, Gerald Ford could have let Nixon suffer. You know, to say he didn't let that happen. Why? Because it was for the good of the country. The whole hanging Chads issue in 2000 between George W. Bush and Al Gore. Gore could have dragged it on. He didn't. It was for the better of the country. And a lot of times these folks speak about this stuff, but they don't do what they say they're going to do and what they implore others to do, which is where the disgust elevates exponentially for Washington, D.C., because we know they're full of it most of the time. And today was the latest example of that.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to join.
It was for the better of the.
Woo! There's Stephen A. dropping the hammer with truth. He might be up tomorrow to apologize because somebody done called him and say, "Hey, Stephen A., you kind of threw Joe Biden under the bus there by saying these things." And he'll come back on his show tomorrow and say, "Y'all, I apologize. Let me come back to the barbecue. I apologize." But it's good to hear Stephen A. talk because he does make sense a lot sometimes. And like I said, my only problem with him is that he'll make sense, and then when they come for him, he'll capitulate. He'll bend the knee, and he'll go back, and we see it over and over and over again. So he's always a good cover because he'll come out and tell you this, and you cover it, and you have some fun with him, and then tomorrow he comes out and change the story, and so it's like he's seesaw. He's back and forth, and you never know where he's at. But I do believe in his core, deep down, I do believe he might just be a tad bit maybe middle liberal, maybe not conservative, because he is progressive. He does believe in, and he'll tell you in a minute, I voted for Kamala Harris. I saw an interview with him saying that I voted for her. So even though all year, well, for the last couple of coverings, he's been talking about how bad she is. He challenged her, and he still voted for her. And that's my point. Same thing with Charlamagne. He voted for her. They see it, they hear it, they know it, but they are at their core going to still vote for these people. And that's what bugs me. And that's why, friends, we call them what? Simps. Well, friends, we've come to the end of our conversation. We have a couple of chats here. Let's see what we have. Kathy, she says, oh, this is about Kathy, wrestling champion, right? And he wants to be in women's sports. I mean, these people are so ridiculous that's putting it mildly. I hear you. He talked about a 9-year-old girl being transitioned. I mean, in what place do we say a 9-year-old child can make the decision for permanent surgeries, permanent drugs going into their little bodies to transform them into something else? These things are permanent. When my son was 9 years old, he couldn't come to me and tell me he's a girl, and then here I am going to put him in surgery? Are you crazy? 9-year-olds, you can't even trust them to wash their own body parts properly, let alone to make decisions about cutting off their body parts. 9 years old. So yeah, that didn't go over my head, Kathy. I didn't go into talks about it, but yeah, you're right. He brought that up. A 9-year-old being transitioned, and they're saying, "Oh, I just want to be able to play sports with my friends." And she talked about, "Oh, governor." So I know she's talking about my governor and Governor DeSantis and what's happened here, where we are not permitting these things to happen to children here. And so, yeah, we're not allowing children to be mutilated, and then 5 years from now, they come here and they talk about these things. So I mentioned earlier, I went to a conference about 2 months ago, I think it was, and Riley Gaines was there. She was the keynote. And there was also a young lady there who had transitioned into a boy when she was like 15. Man, I wish I had gotten that information because I could have. Anyway, she had transitioned when she was like a teenager. And now she was like, I think in her 20s. And so she had become a boy and she had cut off her breast and she, did the whole thing. And so now she's becoming a girl again. And so, coming off of these hormones, I mean, I don't know if they can regrow her breast. I don't know how that happens. Maybe now she has to get breast implants. I don't know. But the moral is that she said that her parents listened to the doctors and the psychiatrists and all of these people, and her parents only wanted her. They said that if she doesn't do this, she's going to die. If she doesn't become a boy, she's going to die. And so her parents was like, well, we don't want her to die. We want her to live. And so they, decided to pursue this avenue. And so they transitioned her into this boy. And then she realized, hey, I was just a tomboy. I didn't need to go and have surgeries and do this. I didn't need to cut off my breast. I didn't need to do all this. I was just a tomboy. I like being around boys. I like to play rough. I like wearing boys' clothes. I was just a tomboy. And even me, at an early stage in my life, I was boyish. I used to love to wear Timberland boots and wear like flannel shirts, but I was still very girly. But, I like that outfit, a flannel shirt with your jeans and Timberland boots. And, guys, I'm from New Jersey. So in the winter, we wear boots. And I wasn't wearing girly boots. I would wear like Timbs. But that didn't mean I wanted to go out there and become a boy. Right? I was just in a stage. I liked the look. I liked the outfit. So I wore it. Imagine that nowadays, somebody sees a girl like that. And they say, hey, yeah, you're a boy. Yeah. We got a fix for that. We can go and get your penis cut off, get your breast cut off. And that's what happened to this young lady. And so now, and she's beautiful, by the way. And she's very articulate telling her story. And she's telling her story to help girls not do this thing, even boys not do this thing. You don't need to do this. No, this thing is permanent. And then when you go to get it reversed, it's another nightmare. I mean, it's crazy, but that's what's happening in the society. So thank you, Kathy, for that. And now, what did you say? You said now it's Montana and Delaware. I didn't know it was Montana also. This is totally screwed up. Yeah, you're right. So we need to find out where this guy is. Yeah, I think it's Montana or Delaware. Yeah. The one McBride is in Delaware and that guy is in Montana. So these are the two states that has sent mentally ill people to write laws and legislation. Okay, friends, they have Montana and Delaware are the two states that has sent mentally unstable people to write laws that's going to affect you, me, our children, and our society. Friends, our time is up. I could go on forever. So, but thank you so much for taking the time and joining me today. Really, really appreciate it. And so I want to say thank you to George, Kathy. You've made the stream so much nicer. That way I have people to converse with during it. And I appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a great day. And I will see you tomorrow. And, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. God bless and keep. Y'all take care And we're going to leave you with my video on my subscription if you are interested, so you can see pictures of me with the people on the ground as I do the work. So without further ado, I'll see you next time. God bless.